my name is Sarah. Welcome to the It is a Sarah podcast. Today it is Monday, February 3rd, 2025, and in this episode I want to share my handwerk perikelen. That's a Dutch word for crafty adventures from this week with you. I'm coming to you from the Netherlands, so excuse my Dutchy English. I love to knit, I love to crochet, I love to sew every now and then. And I love to talk, so that's the perfect combination for making this podcast. I make my episodes in Dutch and in English, so be sure you pick the right one. Okay, I have no finished objects today. I shared last week that I was experiencing with keeping my knitting and crochet and sewing in balance, that all my needs on those creative parts in my life would be filled by casting on all the different projects, and I'm really having fun and I really feel balanced, but I'm not finishing anything. Because my attention is spread over so many projects. A lot is growing, but only small progress is happening at the moment. And that's okay, because I am having fun, but now I really feel the need to finish something. I am a good finisher. I love finishing projects. It's always a heart jumping moment. It really makes me happy, especially when it works out the way you want it to be. And it's been a while since I finished something, so I want to focus on that this week. But not today. I do have some nice things to share with you. And I want to start with what I'm wearing, because what I'm wearing is definitely not something new. It is actually something quite old. Do I have something here? Oh no, it's the fabric of my dress shining through the yarn overs. I thought it was a little bit of dust. I am wearing, I think, actually my first cable cardigan, my first ever knitted cable cardigan by myself. And I told about it before because I did wear it before in the podcast, but it's been a while, I guess, because I can't remember when I did wear it for the last time. I was in front of my rack this morning. What should I wear today? And no, not shoot, what shall I wear today? And then I saw this one, and yeah, it really felt as a good choice, and it is. This is the Acer cardigan. It's a pattern by Christoffers, well-known designer with some very popular designs, I guess, the Felix pullover and the Felix cardigan. And also the pressed flower designs. She created a whole line, but this one is a little bit older. I made it in 2019. It was really the beginning of my knitting career, and I'm really proud I could knit something like this then. I know it was a bit overwhelming and I had no idea what I was doing, but I did create a very wearable cardigan. I was inspired by a colleague. I worked at school as a teacher then, and one of my colleagues, who is also a knitter, was wearing a beautiful cardigan, and she didn't knit it herself. If I remember correctly, it was knitted by a friend, but the size was not good, so her friend gave it to my colleague, and she was wearing it in a beautiful mustard yellow. It has been a while, so I'm not sure if the details are correct, but they are also not really important. But I fell in love with as well the pattern as the yarn. It was really beautiful yarn with a beautiful stitch definition, no pilling at all, and my colleague was very enthusiastic too. So I decided to just do the copycat thing, is that how you say it? And I did knit the cardigan, the same pattern, in the same yarn but another color. I chose brown, and the yarn I'm talking about is Cascade 220 headers. It is a yarn from the United States. I did read a little bit about the company on their website, especially because I want to find out if it was a superwash yarn or a non-superwash. I'm quite sure it's a non-superwash because there is also a Cascade 220 superwash, and that's not this one. It's a worsted weight yarn, 200 meter on a skein of 100 gram. And the beautiful thing about this yarn is the headered thing. It's the color, it's headered, as you can see. There's a lot happening color-wise. It is brown. It is color 94. I did check it. 9408. So it is brown, but there are also some reds happening, and it's a very warm and nice color. And I really love knitting with this yarn. It is not itchy at all to me. It's really soft, and it's a worsted weight. It did knit up very beautiful, and my cardigan, it does pill a little bit, but not really. You can see it right there. I think the pilling is also a little bit of a personal process, because we have all different pill spots. Of course, there are some general spots where there is some movement against between your arm and your body, but it's also personal. But I did wear this cardigan a lot, especially in the beginning, because I didn't own a lot of hand knitted items by then, and now I have more choice, and I really love it. I will give you a proper look, but maybe you can see all the cables on the back. And also on the front, at the back, I don't know, you know what I mean. And all the yarn overs. And I did found my notes in my very first knitting book. I am working in my 5th one right now, and this is the very first. I started it in 2019, and it was really fun. I don't check my knitting books quite often. Most of the time I go to my Ravelry pages if I want to find some more information about an older project, but I was not really, I think I started later with really keeping good track on my Ravelry project page, and I have a project page for my Acer cardigan. I will link it down below, but there's not a lot of information. And I started this cardigan, look, here it is, at on Sunday, February 10, 2019, so it's almost 6 years ago, and I finished it on Saturday 30 March 2019. And there's a little note: I had a knitting break from this cardigan between February 16 and March 17, almost 1 month, and I was surprised, because that means that I finished this cardigan very quickly. And I was definitely a beginner knitter, and it's quite it's not a complicated pattern, but I think it is when you are a beginner knitter. So I'm quite proud of myself. There's also, I also add another note: beautiful cardigan, but maybe 1 size smaller would have been better. And now, 6 years later, I think, 1 size smaller? I don't think that would be a good idea. Maybe I mean the body. I don't know if I did grow this past 6 years, maybe a little bit. The sleeves are definitely fitted, so no extra room there. The body is a little bit on the wide side, so maybe I mean that, but I'm not quite sure. It is a bottom-up pattern, I remember that. Of course it's back and forth because it's a cardigan, and you do all the yarn overs and all the cables, and I was not familiar with cables by then. This is the chart. I won't give it away because it's a paid pattern. In my notes I can see I had a lot of notes. I really needed notes by then to keep track of where I was, because the pattern looks like Chinese for me, and Chinese for me, that's a way of saying things in Dutch. Because the Chinese language is so different, the way of writing and the way of speaking, especially they use other letters, of course, and when something is Chinese for you, you absolutely have no idea what you are doing. Knitting language was as Chinese for me by then. I did write no short rows at shoulders because not beautiful in the pattern, and I can imagine I completely messed up the short rows because that was challenging too. Yeah, really fun, really lovely pattern, learning all the new things, and really happy with how it came out. Do I need, oh yeah, I saw on my shoulder parts, because it's a bottom up, you knit back and forth, and then you knit the left front and the right front and the back, or I don't know in which way, but I really love to close my shoulder seams with a 3 needle bind off. So I have my stitches for the front on 1 needle and my stitches for the back on 1 needle. I put them together and knit with the 3rd needle to the bind off, and I think I did that for the first time right here. And it's quite funny because I did it the other way around. So it's a beginner mistake, and I was absolutely not aware that I made that mistake, and now it's kind of sweet. I have a beginner mistake on my shoulders, and I think I noticed this for the first time right now. I did learn a lot the last 6 years. Yeah, absolutely recommend the yarn. Also recommend the pattern, I guess, because it's lovely, but I can't remember when I can create a cardigan like this as a beginner knitter. It must be a good pattern. So really fun and really nice to give it a little bit of attention in the podcast. The buttons are from the thrift store. They are also beautiful wooden buttons. The only thing is the bottom button broke. But I most of the time prefer to wear my cardigans open, only the upper button closed. I love that more. When I wear a skirt, I prefer to wear them close, but on a dress it looks better. And also, I didn't make it cropped because I didn't knew it by then. I didn't wear wider linen dresses then, more fitted dresses, and yeah, it's a little bit on the long side, but I think it's good. I love it. So, Acer cardigan by Amy Christoffers. Okay, my next project is a little bit less hard jumping. It definitely was a project I loved working on, but then I realized I made a mistake and I completely lost steam on this project, on working at it, and I have doubts, and I will tell you all about. Not so long ago I showed you my crochet project. It's a bit, there are some faults in it because I did keep it in my project bag. This lovely project bag was gifted to me by a Dutch project bag maker. Her name is Rachel. I will link her down below. She makes the most beautiful project bags in the most beautiful vintage fabrics, and I really love those. I have quite a big collection of hers. She all gifted them to me, so I'm a spoiled lady. Really love it. But this project was meant to be a pillowcase, but maybe it's not meant to be because it's not working out. I have this pillow, this very bright and colorful pillow made from scraps, which I think it's too bright and colorful for me. In my knitting office I really love the browns and the neutrals, and it's a little bit of a thorn in my eye. That was it. I read all the comments about how you say it in English. It was not a thorn in your eye, it was a thorn in another part of your body, I guess, the way of saying it in English. But I don't like the pillowcase, it's too bright for me. So I decided to make a new one, and it was on my list for quite a while, but it never happened, as I have quite a long list of things I really want to knit or crochet or sew or whatever, but they are never happening, and I want to change that in this year. So I decided to cast on the pillowcase, and I was really having fun. I found a pattern from Wilma Westenberg, who is a Dutch crochet designer. It was a free pattern, and this big granny square is called the Tulip granny square, although the name on the Ravelry page is is different. So I think it was a part of several granny squares, different granny squares you can make into a blanket, I think, because that was something with Afghan number 3. So I think it's a part of a blanket, but I'm not sure. I didn't really find it out. This is the good side, the right size. I really love this easy peasy pattern. It's a repeat of 3 rounds, and you are actually crocheting tiny tulips. The V-stitch, they are the, oh, I always forget the word, the long part. In Dutch we call it stengel. And then you have the flower on top of that. I am doubting. Will I search or not? Because my phone is there, and then I can search for the translation. But it's not important, so we won't. We won't spoil time on that. So the tiny tulips, and then a straight round of double crochets in between. And that's where it went wrong, because I didn't have the correct stitch amount of stitches. My granny square was looking a little bit wonky anyway, but when I decided it would be a good moment to count my stitches, I completely messed up. There's a difference of 5 or maybe 6 stitches between every side. And that's absolutely not how it's meant to be, because you need the same amount of stitches on every side, because it's a square. I thought, I was aware of the risk that could happen, but I thought, I'm a good crocheter, I can do it on intuition and feeling. No, Sarah, you cannot. So I counted back in which row, oh sorry, rounds. I say rows, but of course you crochet in rounds. I counted back. I tried to search back where it went wrong, and it was really in the beginning already. And when you miss 1 stitch, you can fix it, but when you miss 5 or even 6 stitches at one side, it's hard to fix. And it's not looking very dramatic right now, but when you will crochet further, the effect of the incorrect stitch count will be more clear the bigger the square will be. And also it was my plan to fold it like this to crochet a pillowcase. So I knew I had to rip back, but there was another thing. I already made this crochet pillow, and let's sit on the thick one. This is always on my chair, and I showed it 2 weeks ago. This is also a crochet pillow, and it was part of a blanket of a crochet along years and years ago, a very bright and colorful one, and I decided to crochet it in one color. And I don't really love squared shaped blankets. I prefer the rectangle shape for a blanket, and this was a square one, but I really loved crocheting this one. So I just crocheted until I thought, oh, now I can fold it around a pillow, so let's do that. And I had a finished object. And I really love it. It's only one color, but there's happening so much, so many stitches, all the different things. I remember that I loved working on it, and I also loved the look of it. But I couldn't really remember which pattern it was, and some lovely viewers commented under my episode in which I was talking about this what it was. And now I know, and let me start with saying what it was. It is the crochet along. It is from 2015, and in those years, 2014, 2015, and I think maybe later, a lot of crochet alongs were organized in the Netherlands by different crocheters. And there were 2 ladies, and I don't know exactly who and when, but there were 2 ladies, and their names were Tertia and Jolanda, and they created this crochet along. And I don't know if the first one, if they designed it themselves or if they translated it, but I think they designed this crochet along by themselves. And I have a lot of respect for doing that, because all those different kinds of stitches, it is a challenge to create a pattern from it. But the thing of a crochet along was that at one point they started, and every week a new part of the pattern came out and you could crochet it. I didn't join this one, but I did join one later. And I think it was from another person. And I really loved those weekly parts of the pattern. It was a little bit as if I could keep up with my homework. I was not a good student homework wise. I didn't love... Oh, something dropped downstairs. I didn't love all the things you need to do, and the teacher said now you have to do that, and now you have to... I don't like when people say that I must do something. So I was always struggling with keeping track with my homework, and I don't know if homework is the English word too, the things the teachers tell you to do at home when you are going to school. But at this point, crochet homework, I really loved that. So every week I did a little bit of crochet and I kept track, and it was really, I really loved it. And I made a blanket, I gave it to my sister. It was really fun to work on that blanket then. And I think in the same time I casted on this pillowcase. And that feeling, I really remembered that feeling searching for a pattern for my new pillowcase. So when this didn't work out as I want it to, and there were some lovely people reminding me which pattern this was, and I could find the pattern online, I felt a need to do this again, but then in brown, because I really I enjoy this square pattern, but it's really easy and it's not challenging. In the beginning it was a little bit challenging, but I also get a little bit bored making it, and knowing that I need to count better and pay attention, I thought then I can maybe better do this one, because every round is different. I also need to count for this one, but it's much more challenging because there are different stitches, and not every round is challenging, because there are also some easy peasy rounds in between, but the challenge is in every different round, and a lot of new techniques. Yeah, and just I think I will really love the feeling of completing one round every now and then. You will sit and do one round, and then you go to the next round, and you are looking forward to a new stitch or a new thing. And yeah, I really love that. So I am pretty sure that I will do that. I will make a crochet along. And I searched for the pattern. I found it, both ladies have a blog in Dutch, and I found the complete pattern. You can download it, it's for free. It's very generous of them that they put all the effort and the work in organizing the crochet along. And I searched for the pattern. I could find it in Dutch. I could find a Ravelry page in Dutch, and I was searching for the English translation, and there was an English translation, and I will link it all down below. But when I clicked on the links for the English translation, it didn't seem to work. You have to ask access for a Google Drive account, but also some of the links tell you, I don't exist anymore. So I'm not sure if there will be an English pattern, but you know who the designers are when you follow the link, and I don't know if you can contact them or if I couldn't find it in another place, but maybe someone knows. So yeah. I will definitely start this one, but I wanted to show you this one. And now I'm not sure if I will frog and start over again. I have a lot of skein, so I don't know how crochet is when you frog it. If the yarn, yeah, it is crinkly too. So I don't know what to do. We shall see. But my 2mm needle, 2mm crochet hook is busy making something else. I started a little pea plant. It's a camper van crochet project. We had our first trip with the camper van this weekend, and I started to crochet a pea plant. And the yarn and the crochet hook, they are all in the camper van. I left them there so I could crochet every time I will sit and do not have to drive myself. I could crochet a little strand for the pea plant. So I'm not sure what to do. Of course, I can bring my crochet hook with me. I only have one 2mm crochet hook, and I really want to have it on a tight gauge because this very thin cotton yarn, and I love it when your pillowcases are quite tight. This one is a little bit looser. It's also thicker yarn, but when you crochet on a tight gauge, yeah, it will last longer. It's more tighter, and for a pillowcase it's better, in my opinion. When it would be a blanket, then not. Then you want a drapey fabric, but a pillowcase can be yeah, very tight. So we shall see if I will cast on this week. Maybe I can finish the pea plant first. Dilemmas of a crocheter. But I still love this tulip square. And I can see, I can imagine I will use it again, but not now. I prefer a little bit more challenging project right now. Yeah, okay. Okay, another knitting project which I'm actually working on quite a lot. And I don't mean that I spend many hours knitting it, but on quite a lot of moments in between, because it's my on the way project. I realized I haven't showed it in the podcast for quite a while, so let's do that. And let me start with the project bag it's living in, because this is one of my most beautiful project bags, a very special one. It was again gifted. I never bought a project bag in my whole life myself. Yes, I know, I'm spoiled. That's a hard word. This one has even my name on it. It's a quilted one. It's made by Mieke. Mieke is from Belgium, and you can find her as Quilting Mieke on Instagram. And I must confess, I already was very happy with this project bag, but since I start my English paper piecing project and I quilt by hand, I'm even more impressed about the amount of time and the beautiful detailed work she created, and she just gifted it to me. So I think it's hand stitched. I'm not quite sure. I can ask her, but yeah, very lovely, very nice. So it is not in the project bag right now. This is a very special project because all the things were gifted to me. The project bag was gifted, the yarn was gifted to me by a lovely viewer, and also the pattern was gifted to me by a lovely designer. So it's a lot of love catched into this project, so I can only enjoy it, and I am enjoying it absolutely. I am knitting, which shall I start with? I am knitting a shawl, and I did start to knit it with other yarn. I can't remember which yarn it was, but it didn't work out. It was not looking nice, but I can't remember which yarn I used. It's not long ago. But then I received two beautiful skeins from a lovely Dutch viewer. I caked them up. It is this yarn. It is Slow Wool from Lana Grossa. I think it is superwash. It is merino combined with linen. I don't know the specific amounts, but it's a very soft fingering weight yarn in a lovely beige. No, it's not beige. It's more a little bit of lighter brown, shade of lighter brown, and with that lighter fuzzy part happening, that's the linen. I really love it. So I immediately knew that that yarn would be much better for my shawl than the yarn I was knitting it in. Oh, I know! I was knitting it in the yarn I later knitted my balaclava in. It was Shetland wool. Yeah, that was it. So yeah, really lovely. I already knitted up one skein. This was meant to be one yarn cake. I caked my second skein last week, but my yarn winder and we were having a hard time together. We were not on good speaking terms, so it became 2 yarn cakes and a lot of untangling and a lot of but we are okay right now. This is the Anchor Shawl, and the Anchor Shawl is again a design from a Dutch designer. I told about her last week because I'm also knitting her blanket, the past, present, future blanket. This is the Anchor Shawl. It's also a design by Mirjam Molenbeek, a Dutch designer who owns an online knitting campus, and she loves to design easy peasy patterns she can use for her members to teach them knitting. And you can follow knitting. It is in Dutch, so it is probably not really interesting for English speaking people, but she really learns the Dutch knitters to work with English patterns, and when she creates her own patterns, she can use them for it. And it's actually, I'm doing a lot of things different. It's a triangle shaped shawl, but it is busy on my cable. I don't know if I think I have a longer cable, but it works fine for me right now. I can only not show you the shape. It is a triangle shaped shawl, and you start with a garter tab in the middle. I love this construction. When I knitted it for the first time, I have more triangle shaped shawls. I had no idea what I was doing, but it's a very clever construction, and you can knit back and forth in a triangle shape by increasing at the beginning and in the middle. I do a few things different because the pattern is actually meant to be for or written for DK weight yarn. I am using fingering weight yarn because I was a little bit afraid when I would use DK weight that it would be too bulky. I have 2 triangle shaped shawls which I'm really wearing a lot, although one of my girls claimed one. Those are the skimning shawls from Sophia Tales. I really love them, and they are made from Kauni yarn, so it's a little bit of a heavier fingering weight, light sport weight, and I really love the fabric it creates because you can make a big shawl without being too big around your neck. You can still wrap it around several times. So I was a bit afraid when I would knit a DK weight shawl, it would be too thick for what I love. So my plan is to make it very big, so I can still wrap it around me. It's actually meant to be as a summer shawl. Because it's merino with linen, it really feels nice to your skin, and my other shawls are more of a rustic yarn, so I can wear them in summer, but I actually never do. And I want to make it so big that it's actually a blanket shawl, and I will keep it in the van. So when we go camping, you can wrap it around your body or use it as a blanket. Yeah, I don't know. I will just knit all the yarn away. So I'm actually, I just knitted one skein, and now I have to knit the other ones. So yeah, I don't know how big it will be, and then I will block it. It's not a loose gauge, or maybe it is. I'm knitting on 3mm needles, I guess. 3mm needles. I did choose for my bamboo needles. I have this lovely stitch stopper, needle stopper. It was a gift from Antõnita. She is a Dutch yarn owner from Portuguese and Spanish yarns. Wool uit het zuiden, wool from the south. And a few weeks ago I visited a small knitting event, and she was there too, and she shared a little present with all the visitors, so that was really lovely. So also gifted a lot of love in this project, all gifted love. let me see. I did, so that was one of the modifications. I did other yarn, and because of that I also did a little bit of a other guarded tab cast on, because you do, according to the pattern, a 2-stitch guarded tab cast on, which means you have 2 knitted stitches along the sides, which create the border. But it was too small, too narrow. It didn't look nice, so I decided to do a 3-stitch guarded tab. So my border has 3 stitches. Don't know if you can see it. It's a little bit. The light is from the other side. I have to show it this way, but then I cannot see. No, you probably know what I mean. It's a little bit wider, the border. And I also, in the middle, I love the look of a slip stitch. So the middle stitch I made into a slip stitch, and I just knit it on the right side and I slip it purlwise on the wrong side. And it gives a nice stitch column in the middle. I love that detail. Yeah, I'm very curious. This one will block out quite a lot. I think I will stretch it out a bit. I really love the alternation between the garter stitch and the stockinette stitch. I must confess, I don't like shawls with an ugly backside, and this is a little bit of a doubt, because it's not ugly, but it's also not the difference between, I think it's okay, the difference between reversed stockinette and garter stitch is not really visible. I think this rhythm, when it will be blocked, will just be fine for me to wear it as the front side too. When I wrap my shawls around me, my skimming shawls, I love both sides, so it doesn't matter which side is up at the front. And when the shawl has a clear backside, or a blanket has a clear backside, I don't want to show it on the front side. And I really love it when I will wrap it around. It doesn't matter how it will be. I love the color, I love the feeling, and I also love working on it. It's always in my backpack, and I will bring it with me when I'm on the way. So the rows are quite long right now, because you increase every row. So you start really tiny with tiny rows, but it will be bigger, so it's perfect for endless knitting. It's also a perfect project when you want to change your knitting style, and you really need to knit a lot of stitches to optimize that new way of knitting. So I'm a continental knitter, and I do knit the purl stitch in a different way, because I'm a little bit of a loose knitter, a relaxed knitter. Let's keep it positive. And my stitches can look a little bit messy. I was searching for a better way, especially to knit my purl stitches. And I found the Russian purl. I think you can also call it combination knitting. I didn't search for information links. Maybe I can find them and then I will put them down below. But it's just when you are knitting continental, I will film it a little bit for you so you can see it. But it's not a tutorial, far from that. Instead of wrapping your yarn around your needle from above, you do it on the under the needle. No, that's why I'm not a tutorial maker. I can't explain myself. But it's a very tiny, short movement. So it goes very quickly, and it also doesn't hurt your hands because the movement is so small, and it's also very nice, and that's not happening in this pattern, but to alternate knit and purl stitches. So knit 2, purl 2, knit 1, purl 1. It's such a nice rhythm you can do, and you don't have to throw over with your right hand or with your left hand. The only thing is, when you do the Russian purl stitches, the stitches will be twisted on your needle. So you have to insert your needle different from the normal stitches. And when you are just knitting stockinette or back and forth, or then it's not a problem. It can be a problem when you are knitting a little bit of more complicated patterns. When I'm knitting lace, you have to knit a lot of stitches together, or then it can be confusing. So then I quite often switch back to the normal continental purling. For example, in my Bubblicious sweater, there are some parts where I do normal pearls and there are some parts where I do Russian pearls. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I can use them both, and I know when it will work out and when it won't. Most of the time I know it, but sometimes I have to experience it first. So that's why I know it. I made all the mistakes. But it works out pretty good for me, and yeah, it's some endless knitting. It's also boring knitting or very relaxing knitting, but for me this kind of projects are perfect to have on the way, because not really much is happening, and yeah, that's very nice to focus on a little bit while doing other things. So yeah, the Anchor Shawl by Mirjam Molenbeek. I absolutely recommend the pattern. It's really easy to follow, and I think the end result will be very nice to have in my wardrobe. Okay, last but not least, I have one new cast on. It was absolutely not a planned one. I did cast on a lot of things, and there was happening a lot on my needles, and it was okay. I was okay with that. I was in balance. But last week I was not in balance. My hormonal balance was interesting, challenging. I don't know what was happening. My hormones are influencing my mood every month once. I think that's quite familiar for a lot of people. But last week it was really intense, and I was really feeling wow. And at some point I thought, I really need a new cast on. And my head was also telling me, no, you have a lot on your needles, go enjoy that, you don't need a new cast on. But I learned from my husband that when someone is influenced by hormones, you don't argue with that person. He knows, that's his experience, and I'm afraid I'm part of his experience. But I thought of that and I thought, oh no, I won't argue with my hormones. I will cast on a new project immediately. And it was very good to do that. It was really, I enjoyed it so much. I felt much better after that. So I realized, even if I will never finish this project, I will, I'm quite sure I will. But even if I would never finish this project, it was not a problem. Just knitting on it for a few hours just was a recharging activity I really need at that moment, and listening to my needs was really, yeah, that's really a way of self-care, I guess. So yeah, a process knit, and it will end and it will be a lovely garment, but when it won't be, it's also good. That was good to have that experience. I am quite disciplined in my crafting, I guess, and it was very nice to just let it happen for a moment. Okay, what I did cast on was this little tiny vest. It is, I don't know if the light's good. Yeah, I think you can see it properly. It is the Hobbiton Vest. It's a pattern by Fabel Knitwear. And I did see it a lot by some of my Dutch knitting friends. And every time I see one of them wearing that vest, I really love it. I love the look of it, and they are all very happy with their vests. It's really a nice garment you can wear under a cardigan and over a dress or on a skirt. And I really love the style. It's a bit based on the 50s style. I just love the design, but I never actually planned to make it myself. Not in the near future. I don't know why, because I love it, but it just was never on my list. But now it suddenly was, and I really needed to cast this on. And I saw, when I was checking all the details, I saw it was it needed a DK weight yarn, and the amount of yarn was perfect for me to use up. some skeins of fingering weight. I have 3 sets of 2 100-gram fingering weight skeins in my stash, which I want to make a garment of, but I didn't really know what kind of garment, and now I notice I can make Hobbiton vests of it. But I had that clash with my wool winder last week, and I was really not in the good mood. I was really restless and a little bit aggressive. Not aggressive in a bad way, but you know what I mean. Hormonally aggressive. So I thought, this is not the mood, the energy I can wind one of my skeins. I just need to grab something out of my stash. And I decided it must be let lopy. And that actually didn't make sense, because let lopy is a worsted weight. But I thought, I don't care. I was in that kind of mood. I don't care. I will do it anyway. And I did. And I didn't swatch, but I did check the amount of stitches for the cast on, and I compared it with my last worsted weight knit, and it made sense. So I went down 1 size. Normally I would knit size 2, I guess, but now I casted on size 1. And the only thing, it might be too big, but I don't think so. I think it's okay. I didn't fit it yet, because it's on a small cable, and I just knit, and it's the must stitch, and it's really a lovely stitch to knit. Certainly when you knit the purl stitches as I do, that makes it really nice and easy. Small movement, so it's really really good to knit, and yeah, I love it. I did choose for the charcoal color. I had that one in stash. I have some packs with some full packs with let lopy with 10 yarn balls. I didn't want to break one because I want to leave that as a sweater or cardigan quantity. But I have also a big box with single balls, or a few single balls in the same colorway. I did knit my Maya sweater with this color, in this color. I really wanted a dark vest, and I had 2 options, charcoal or dark brown, and I prefer dark brown more, but I was already knitting my light bright in dark brown, and I had my corn coffee bean cardigan in dark brown, so I thought, okay, let's pick another color. And maybe this was the color of my mood. Very dark. No, it was not as bad as it was, but when you are influenced by hormones, it's quite dramatic for a few hours, and then it did last 2 days, but then it was over, and I knew it were my hormones, so I also could laugh about it. So yeah, I cast it on. I really enjoyed knitting on it, and when my hormones disappeared, or that specific kind of hormones disappeared, also my mojo to work on this project disappeared. It was not really that I don't want to knit on this anymore, but it was more that the other projects, they needed their attention. So I will finish it, but as I said, even if I will not finish it, it was good for that moment. It was really recharging to just follow your instincts, and not be too hard for myself with the head. So yeah, I really love that. Okay, that was it for today. In the Netherlands, it will be a very bright and sunny week. It was already a very bright and sunny weekend. We spent it on the beach, and that was very good. I really love those dark, misty, gloomy, grey days. I really love them, but now it's bright and sunny, I can appreciate that too. So we spend a lot of time outside, and this week I will spend a lot of time knitting and crocheting all the projects, but also cleaning, because when the sun starts shining, some spots in the house disappear, which you're not seeing when it's grey and gloomy outside. Maybe I prefer the grey and gloomy weather for that reason. But I really need to clean my windows and other stuff. So I don't have a lot of appointments this week. So I think I can alternate cleaning and crafting. That really works for me. 30 minutes of cleaning, 30 minutes of crafting. So I can do both and I be happy and balanced. So I think I will do that a lot this week. Yeah. I want to wish you a very good week. I hope you will have enough heart jumping moments. If you can't find them, create them, because we need them. Thank you for watching, and maybe I will see you the next time. Bye bye!